When I left the army, I just couldn't adjust. I was drinking anything alcoholic. I was on the path of self-destruction. I felt alone, I felt lost. Me against the world, if you like.
I loved it, I was built for that lifestyle, I think. You knew you were building friendships. You knew if it come down to the lad that was next to you, he had your back no matter what. But you don't find it with friendship out in the streets, you don't get that.
The transition back to Civvy Street was difficult to deal with for me personally. I ended up losing my nut, become seriously aggressive, unpredictable. And I took to come to jail and think, where have I just been? I've been in a pit, do you know what I mean? And then I started using my head.
I was very young, I was 16 when I went in. I was on the go all the time and there was something to do. Got medically discharged and I was in prison by the time I was 19. I've been here for 24 years. I miss the army, I miss the boys, I miss the life.
I served for the Household Cavalry, Blues and Royals for 3.5 years. I enjoyed it, loved every minute of it. I had friends there.
Served with the Royal Signals, just over 3 years. I'd signed up for 9 years, I had every intention of staying in longer than that. I was built for that lifestyle, I think.
I loved life in the army, you know, I felt I belonged to something. It was good, like a brotherhood, if you like, so. If you were struggling with anything, you always had your mucker to turn to, or you always had an ear to talk to.
So what happened?
I got into the wrong crowd, ended up on the drugs, drink, got caught with a load of amphetamines, A's and acid. I was court-martialed, kicked out of the army straight after. I was devastated. Devastated. I just spiraled further down. I could have killed myself. That's how I felt. I felt as if my life was over with. Couldn't see where I could go from then. Didn't see any other options. Started taking more drugs, getting heavier on coke, and ended up doing an armed robbery. Because we got arrested within 12 hours. I get 6 years, sentenced to 6 years.
The Forces gives somebody a shape. It gives them a very strong shape of identity. When they come out, some people have no idea of how to navigate a civilian community.
The sense of that military culture, that sense of belonging to something, that's in the military, that sense of comradeship and that trusting relationship you have with your peers is really strong in the military. And coming out onto Civvy Street, where, as I say, you can't necessarily trust everyone you meet, you can't necessarily rely on people to have your back all the time or feel like you can't. That can sometimes be really difficult to then engage with other agencies.
The transition back to Civvy Street was difficult to deal with for me personally. I'd never had to pay tax, mortgage, insurance, any of these things. There was no crash course given to me to put me, to explain how all this works. So I got out, and that transition I found difficult. I basically came out a man with the brain of a 16-year-old regarding their matters. I was clueless, yeah. I ended up losing my nut, become seriously aggressive, unpredictable, and ended up doing things that are out of character. I ended up selling drugs and taking drugs. I was addicted to cannabis and steroids. Yeah, I got a bit greedy and then landed myself on a conspiracy.
When I left the army, I had no support from the MOD at all. I just couldn't adjust. I had no structure in my life, no discipline. I didn't have that safety blanket of the discipline or the structure. It was gone, so I was lost. I was drinking anything alcoholic. Any pill you could pop, sniffing anything you could sniff. I couldn't get no lower. I felt alone, I felt lost. You know, alone in the wilderness, if you like, on my own. It was like me against the world, if you like. I was on the path of self-destruction.
So what we're trying to do within SToMP is to make sure that our service users are very aware of what is on offer to them and how that can help them, particularly with regards to supporting them not to commit offences in the future. There's a myriad of organisations out there to support ex-armed service personnel.
Some of the narratives of people who have made an unsuccessful transition were expectations that were unrealistic on leaving the military. What they thought it was going to be like when they left wasn't actually what it was like in the everyday reality. And that lent itself to either extreme distraction through either going drinking and not acknowledging that they have responsibility because they didn't see this responsibility as part of what they expected when they left the military, and it was all too much. So being a civilian is what needs to be addressed. As they don't want to ever see themselves as a civilian, becoming a civilian is one of those things that is a major challenge. To have people around who know what it's like to try and become a civilian, and that is definitely one of the strongest supports networks that you can offer.
There's a lot of people on this wing, on this community, that are obviously veterans from the army, so we've got a lot more in common. There's a lot more respect, everyone respects each other, everyone gets on. Support, if you ask for something, it gets done. You need to speak to someone, there's a lot of understanding people. They've all got time for you. There's a lot of people been through a lot of things in the wing, and no one judges.
There's an element of pride whereby somebody who's been active soldier, sailor, airman, who was seen as, you know, having something about them, suddenly find themselves in the criminal justice system, in custody. It's like a fall from grace, so they don't want to identify themselves because people might think differently to them.
How would you recognise that somebody had been in armed services?
Unless someone tells you that they're ex-forces, or they've got a tattoo on their arm that says I served, as a non-serving person or someone who's never served, it's very difficult to pick up on. So basically the simplest way of identifying an ex-service personnel is to ask the question, have you ever served in the armed forces? Some of them will tell you, some of them won't, but generally if someone thinks they're getting something, a better level of service, they're going to tell you.
So for any ex-armed service personnel, we wanted to coordinate how we identify that group and how we're bringing in some of those agencies into our prisons, into our custody suites, and making sure that that potentially vulnerable group are accessing the services that are available to help them.
We've got a lot of ex-service personnel in one place, and certainly since its inception and it's opening in April 2017. It's been a massive success, and the people who live on here are happy to be here, and they enjoy the support that they get.
It's very often just having somebody who can hear them and know that there is somebody who is rooting for them. It's not about doing for somebody, it's about helping them do for themselves, or at least become more aware of their own resources and how can they enhance those resources.
My name's Sean Stocker, and I work on the Sean Stocker community in Berwyn Prison, and it's sort of like an ambassador role. I come and share my experiences and my time and give something back to the veterans in Berwyn Prison. From the get-go, they really welcome me in, and I feel it's greatly appreciated by the men here at Berwyn.
I am a bit passionate about this community. We started it with Ian. Obviously we got Sean Stocker as the lead. That's who we aspire to, is, you know, Sean Stocker. He's a bit of a legend in here. He got blown up in Afghan, lost his legs, lost his eyes. He's kind of loved on you.
You know, I come in and I say, you've got time on your hands. You know, use every opportunity you've got here to try and create something or rebuild something better when you leave. If they can try and use their time here as a positive one, you know, they could look back at this time and not judge themselves, not be ashamed. They can say, you know what, that was good that happened. I'm glad I went there because my life's better off for it now.
The support network works so hard to help somebody make a transition, and it's the effectiveness of the network that helps the person make the transition. But you also have to have the person to acknowledge that they need the network.
I feel like I changed a lot in myself, from noticeable changes from when my first sentence, from when I came into when I left. I felt so different. Like I say, I think I came out of the depression, anxiety, learned a lot of things about myself, learned how to interact with people. It's helped my mental state and helped me concentrate on things out there that are more important to me to progress, to lead a non-offending lifestyle upon release.
So when a veteran is brought into custody, hopefully they'll identify themselves and then they can go through that pathway to get the level of support from the moment they come into reception to the moment where they're released back into the community, whether that be on licence or not. So if someone's being released, we use certain support charities who will work with them from 12 months prior to release, through to release, and then through the gate, and offer that support in the community as well. We try and put them on the right track before they get out, and then they receive that support in the community from the same services.
I'm positive about the future because the help I've had here, I know 100%, yeah, that I'm stepping out of this prison with a phone book like you wouldn't believe, you know, with organisations, with people. It's part of my future. You know, I've got business mentors, accountants, I've got, you know, people who are there for my welfare. I've got people I can pick the phone up and speak to if I have problems. But that's because I've embraced it.
The chances of the guys staying out with the support are a lot higher than without. It speaks for itself that someone gets support when they leave, the chances of them coming back are a lot less than if they don't. The guys we have had released, none of them have come back, but they're all still out. They're all still useful members of society who are employed and living decent lives.
What's prison like?
It probably sounds strange, but it was good for me because it was structured in my life again, which I needed. For me, it was a positive journey. It was when I started opening up to forces agencies that used to come into the prison. Off my own back, I sought out the counsellor who took me on. I just had enough. I came round to the way of thinking that I had been punished enough and that I did deserve a life. You know, that's when I went about trying to change my life. I'm in a residential rehab at the moment, which I'm enjoying because it's where I want to be, and I'm learning more about me without drink, and I don't need to drink to deal with my problems. The right way for me is to talk about any issue, even the slightest issue. I'm enjoying it. Life's good at the moment. Yeah, life's good.
Do you know what I mean? Press-ups solve everything. Honestly, they do. Everything. What's the meaning of life? Press-ups. Right. We done them sweat my back out there.
Yeah, I got that.